In the last couple of videos, we spent some time learning a new JavaScript feature. We learned all about JavaScript modules. In this one, I want to get back to our Webpack config file and talk about how we can make a change to it. The change we're going to focus on is adding support for Babel right inside of Webpack. So when Webpack goes through and grabs all of our code and processes it, we're also going to have it run the code through Babel. So we get the best of both worlds. We get the advantages of Webpack, being able to use that module system, and we get the advantages of Babel, being able to run our code in a wider range of browsers. To get this done, we're going to have to use what's known as a Webpack loader. Loaders allow us to customize what happens when Webpack loads a file with its module system. In our case, we're going to be able to run that code through Babel. So we're going to be installing the Babel loader and configuring it to get everything to work. Over inside of the terminal, we can run a single command to install this, npm install babel-loader, and we're going to grab the most recent version available, that is 7.1.4. Let's go ahead and run this installation command. Then all we're going to have to do is add about 12 lines of code to the Webpack config file to get this feature wrapped up. Right on the root object alongside of entry and output, I'm going to go ahead and set up another property called module. This is the property that Webpack provides to us that allows us to configure the JavaScript module system, and Webpack expects this to be an object. Now we're not quite done yet. Inside of here, we have to add another property to get to the part where we want to set things up. This is the rules property. Rules allows us to specify as many rules as we want, and the one rule that we're going to set up tells Webpack to use Babel. So rules expects to be an array, and it expects to be an array of objects where each object is a rule. In this case, we just want one rule to use Babel, so we only need one object in this array. Right here on this object is where most of the configuration is going to happen. On this object, we're going to provide a use property. This tells the rule what loaders to use, and right here, we are going to specify the loader. The loader being a string value, Babel-loader, the exact one we installed. Now, when we had been originally running Babel, we weren't just running Babel straight up. We had to provide some information. The output file, the input file, Webpack already knows what those are. The important one, though, was the presets. We wanted to use the env preset. We can still specify that right inside of our configuration. So alongside of loader, we are going to add options, and options is an object where we can specify all of the options we need. For Babel loader, we can provide presets. So right here, presets. This value is an array of strings where each one is a preset to use. We're just using one env. All right, so we have almost everything in place. The last thing we need to do is customize this rule object, telling it which files to actually apply the rule to. We want to apply it to all JavaScript files from our project, excluding those inside of Node modules. If we don't exclude those in Node modules, Babel can get really slow, slowing down our build time. Since that's not code we wrote, there's no need to process it. Let's go ahead and start by setting up the exclude property. So we are going to exclude files that have something specific in their path. Now, to set up the value for exclude, we actually have to use a regular expression. A regular expression is just a way to target a string. So we can see if a given string has a given value inside of it. We're going to go ahead and set this up like the following. That is /node_modules/. So we use the forward slashes to create the regular expression. Then right inside, we type the thing we're looking for. In this case, we are trying to exclude all paths that have node modules anywhere inside. So as an example, I've copied the absolute path for a file in the node modules folder for me. Whoops, let me go ahead and put that in comments so it doesn't try to format it as JavaScript. So we have users, Andrew, desktop, JS Bootcamp, boilerplate, all expected. We then go into node modules. This is where the JavaScript file is going to be caught as something that should be excluded and not processed. So it's just looking for this part of the path. Now that we have exclude knocked out, we can go ahead and set up the last property that we're going to need. This is the test property. So once again, this one is also going to be a regular expression. So we're going to add those two forward slashes with a comma, and we're going to type some stuff inside. Now in this case, We are trying to figure out if the file has .js on the end. So if it is a JavaScript file. Right here, we're going to start off with .js. Now, the dot character in a regular expression has a special meaning. We want to match an actual dot in the path, so we just escape that using a backslash. We also want to make sure that this file extension .js comes at the very end of the path, so we want to make sure that it's actually the end of the file's name. In order to get that done, all we do is put a $sign right here. That makes sure that what comes before is at the end of the string. So now we have a great way to target just the JavaScript files we've written and actually process them through Babel using Babel Loader. We can now save Webpack config and actually make sure things are working by rerunning Webpack. Over inside of the terminal, I'm going to use npm run Webpack to rerun Webpack. This time around, it is going to run Webpack, also processing the files through Babel. And in the end of the day, we can see everything is working as expected, which is awesome. Now, this also allows us to switch up package.json. No longer do we need this script around since Webpack takes care of that for us. What I'm actually going to do is delete the build script completely, leaving just the serve script and the Webpack script in place. Then I'm going to rename Webpack over to build. So now we have a serve script for serving up the application, and we have a build script for running things through Webpack. No longer is there a need to ever use Babel outside of the context of Webpack. And that's where we're going to stop for this one. So let's take a quick moment to recap what we did. In this video, we switched from running Babel as a standalone command to including Babel as part of Webpack. That required us to specify a new module rule. This rule targets all JavaScript files that are not inside of node modules. What does it do? It runs it through Babel using Babel Loader, and we still configure it with the same options. In this case, using the env preset to make sure that our code works in as wide a range of environments as possible. That's where we're going to stop for this one. I'll see you in the next video.